And we back, baby cakes, with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And in the last episode, I mentioned that I would touch on this principle within this timeless philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, which is we get what we deserve in life, not what we desire. That can sound quite harsh on one side of things. It could sound ego-inflating on another. But it is this timeless truth that I've found both arrestingly blunt, because I first read that, as I touched on in the last episode, in the depths of failure. God, life felt so hard back then when I read that. When I first came across this book, Vedanta Treatise, that I'm always talking about. That is the compendium of this whole philosophy in a 3 to 4 hour read. The best compendium I've come across, and boy, have I looked high and low for the books within this philosophy, written in a modern, simple, plain English way. But that book, the very opening liner notes of the book, has this quote, amongst others: "We get what we deserve in life, not what we desire." And it's so interesting that I read that in the depths of failure. There were probably still tears that were drying on my cheek when I read that. And got so bad, I know my wife, she wanted to take me to like a resort to get away from just the professional knots that I had tied myself into with running a company that was not doing very well. And I'm so thankful for that backdrop of failure, instead of the delusion that, oh, I've got it all figured out, and everybody else in the arena keeps failing because they're such fools. But if I was running things, then I'd be on top. There was no delusions of that, because I was running things, and I had been for 3 companies in a row, and each one got a little bit further each time, but failed and failed and failed. And there was no hiding that I was in that scenario because of my own deserving. There's also no hiding that, man, I was full of desire, and did not have the life that I desired. A full-on ball of desire, and desiring something independent of the romantic philosophy that's woven into nearly every mainstream movie or book, that if you don't have it yet, you gotta want it more. That is not what sophisticated philosophers or psychologists, cognitive scientists, that is not what the chorus, that is not what there's a reason that the sophisticated academic approach to philosophy kind of left romanticism in the dust 150 years ago. That you can want to be an NBA player all you want, and if you're 5'3" and 95 pounds, you probably aren't. Doesn't matter the desire, you're probably not going to make that happen. And by probably, let's go so far as to say that desire without the wiring will be meaningless. This philosophy goes even further to say that desire without deserving is meaningless. This is in line with a quote that a mentor of mine, this founder and investor, Ries, is a best-selling author. He wrote a handful of books for the startup realm, and he said this to me once, and I absolutely loved it because it gives room, some wiggle room. He said, in any circumstance, there's 200% responsibility to go around. And it's your job to claim your 100%. This wiggle room allows you to say, yeah, well, there were market conditions, or there were issues with this or that, or an investor did this to the company, or this other person wronged me in this way in our dating life or marriage, or there was this freak accident that happened that had this or that effect on my life. There's 200% responsibility to go around. Claim your 100%. Something happens when you're 14. You play the victim card for 12 years. You're 26. You're still gobbling up all of the benefits of playing that victim card. I know that feeling. I lost my older sister when I was 15, and I gobbled up the benefits of the victim card for 3-4 years. A lot of benefits to an unexpected death in the family. I'd tell that story here and there, gain a whole lot of sympathy or influence or reverence or, wow, we went through something really tough. But in the midst of wallowing in maybe despair of loss of a sister 3 years prior, what's the 100% you can claim? Man, I keep talking about this story over and over again. I keep identifying with someone that I'm someone who lost a sister when he was 15. Keep talking about mental illness, and I'm in the midst of struggling years later because every other topic that I bring up is related to mental illness because of that running in our family. That's what ultimately took my sister's life. What is the 100%, even in the midst of a freak accident, a tragic incident? What's the 100% that each of us could take? What's the 100% that we could take in the midst of not engaging in a battle we know we need to engage in? A battle raging within us for truth that we're kind of shying away from, and it's destroying our energy. Feeling lost, and instead of blaming a parent, instead of blaming the world, what is the 100% that we could take responsibility for? Because what is so cool about that, what's so liberating about this aspect of you get the life that you deserve, not the life that you desire, is it's in your control to deserve it. You're not this speck of dust, according to this philosophy, at least, speck of dust that's just handed a set of cards and that's all you get. You had no role, you had no responsibility into it. In that hand you're dealt. This philosophy is so explicit in saying, no, you're going to get what you deserve. Shit hand. It's because you made shit decisions. I know that was the case for me. Great hand. Nothing is as powerful, and this comes from the partner of Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. These two guys are the best investors of all time. And Charlie Munger has this quote of, there's nothing as powerful in life than feeling like you've deserved what you got. On the upside, in success, to feel like you've deserved it is so powerful. It's the beginning of compounding interest on what you've deserved. It's the beginning of a upward spiral of success versus you get something and you live a life or a worldview or a philosophical approach to your life that says, oh, well, I don't really deserve any of this. I don't really deserve any of this. This is all undeserving, and you send that message to yourself over and over and over again. The self-sabotage that comes from going to bed at night, feeling like I don't deserve any of this. Versus the stability, the power that comes from what Charlie Munger outlined. Going to bed at night feeling like, yeah, this is a nice house. These are great kids, or this is a solid career. This is a solid community around me, and I deserve it. It's not ego inflation. Because with awareness and philosophy at the end of the day is just clarity. You see all of the shortcomings. You still are aware of the rough edges in your life and your approach to life, usually having to do with ego itself. And you realize, oh yeah, I missed out on that opportunity, or I had friction with that person, or that scenario that called for a lot of courage. I didn't have quite enough. You recognize, yeah, that's on me. So you're still growing in your awareness of where there's still so much work to be done. But in the midst of it all of the things that you don't take for granted, you also recognize, yeah, I'm thankful for the health that I have because I deserve it. I've been putting in the work to have this firm or flexible body, to have this approach of mental fortitude because of my approach to sleep, diet, exercise, to clarity each morning. We get what we deserve in life, not what we desire. And in the midst of things going haywire, I've found it so helpful to think about that quote, that in any situation, there's 200% responsibility to go around. And the call for us to claim our 100%. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And whether things are riding high or riding low, it's a powerful one to reflect on for perhaps several days in a row. We'll see you next time.